Jody Heisentrout was born in 1968 in Long Prairie, Minnesota. She was the beauty queen of her high school golf team, with a charming face and a dream of becoming a television host. After graduating with a degree in journalism from St. Cloud State University, Jody worked for several different television stations before becoming a morning anchor at KIMT-TV in Mason City, Iowa, a 4-hour drive from her hometown. She quickly adapted to her new job and city. Colleagues described Jody as meticulous, passionate, and unafraid of challenges. She became close with a new group of friends, often skiing together, and they even threw her a surprise birthday party in early June 1995. Normally she would arrive at the TV station at 3 a.m. to prepare for KIMT-TV's 6 a.m. morning show, Daybreak. But after 4 a.m. on June 27th, 1995, the production crew couldn't reach Jody following her unusual delay. I called Jody twice. The first time she answered, sounding groggy, and asked what time it was, promising to get there quickly. But the second time, the phone just rang with no response. The Daybreak director recalled, Jody Heisentrout never made it to host the show that morning. Frustrated, the director carried out the broadcast himself. Later, thinking that Jody might have fallen while showering or suffered an accident in her apartment, the crew sent a colleague to call the police and request a welfare check. When officers arrived at Jody's apartment in Mason City around 7 a.m. that same day, they found evidence suggesting something far worse had happened to her. Her red Mazda Miata was still parked outside, and police found her bent car key on the ground nearby, along with her red high heels, hairdryer, and earrings. There were drag marks on the wet pavement. Given the bent key, police suspected that someone had abducted the female anchor as she was unlocking her car. Some of Jody's neighbours also reported hearing a scream around 4:30 a.m. that morning. One neighbour recalled seeing a light-coloured truck when driving past Jody's apartment on the way to work. While searching the area around her apartment, police found no new leads. However, they did discover a handprint on the windshield and a stray hair near her car. Although the police didn't find much evidence at Jody's apartment, they identified one of the suspects as John Van Cise, a middle-aged man who was part of her close group of friends. Van Cise first met Jody and her friend, Annie Cruz, at a bar. Despite being 22 years older than her, Van Cise quickly became close friends with Jody. However, some of her friends thought Van Cise wanted something more than friendship. He had thrown a surprise birthday party for Jody 3 weeks before she disappeared, and he even talked about naming his boat after her. To me, she was like a daughter, Van Cise told KIMT TV in 1995. I treated her like she was my own child. Van Cise passed a polygraph test, provided his fingerprints and DNA to the police, and presented an alibi for the morning of Jody's disappearance. Aside from Van Cise, investigators considered another theory: that Jody had been abducted by someone who had been stalking her after seeing her on television. Jody was very easy to follow. Her home address, apartment, and phone number were listed in the city's public phone directory. She also had the same daily work schedule and often talked about her social and community plans while reporting, the police noted. Evidence supporting this theory came from an incident in October 1994, when Jody reported to the police and told her friends that someone driving a white truck was regularly following her, making her feel uneasy. Based on criminal records in the area, police identified 2 men as possible suspects in Jody's abduction. The first was Tony Jackson, a serial rapist who lived just 2 blocks away from Jody at the time of her disappearance. In 1997, he was arrested and convicted of raping 4 women. While serving a life sentence for his crimes, he allegedly told another inmate that he had killed Jody. Police later searched storage areas at his house for 2 hours, but found nothing suspicious. After years of investigating other leads, in 1999, the Mason City Police Department declared that Jackson was no longer a suspect in Jody's disappearance. Jackson also consistently maintained his innocence. The second suspect was Jerry Burns, who was convicted of murdering an 18-year-old blonde girl with a similar appearance to Jody in 1979, though Jerry was not identified until 2018. During his interrogation, Burns made an offhand reference to Jody, but explained it by saying that she was very beautiful and famous on television. There's nothing unusual about me knowing about her disappearance, Burns stated, and police found no physical evidence at the scene linking him to the case. The public also had its own theories. Since Jodi was a very determined journalist who delved into sensitive topics, her colleagues believed that she might have been targeted by someone who had been exposed in one of her crime reports. This could have included both criminals and corrupt police officers looking for revenge. Family members and the community of Mason City rallied to raise funds for the Find Jodi Fund, aimed at boosting the investigation and search efforts. However, during the investigation, one of the campaign's billboards, funded by Find Jodi and placed at the city's entrances and downtown area, was intentionally vandalized by a retired police officer. Authorities did not clarify this incident. Today, the disappearance of the beautiful news anchor remains a mystery. In 2001, 16 years after she went missing, the 27-year-old was officially declared dead. The case has seen no further progress. So, who do you think is behind the disappearance of reporter Jodi Heisentraut? Leave your answer in the comments below. After finishing work on the evening of September 20th, 2012, Jill Meagher, a reporter for the Melbourne branch of the renowned ABC television network, went to a bar on Sydney Road with her colleagues. At around 1:30 a.m. on September 21st, 2012, she began walking home. It was a short journey, as her home was only about 400 metres from the bar. However, a few hours later, Jill still hadn't arrived home. Her husband, Tom Meagher, quickly called the police when he couldn't reach her by phone. A relative mentioned that Jill had called to check on her father's health at around 1:42 a.m., but her phone suddenly cut off. This relative tried calling her back several times, but she didn't answer. The first thing the police did was to investigate whether Tom had any involvement in his wife's disappearance. Phone location data showed that Tom was at home during the time Jill went missing. As a result, the investigators ruled him out as a suspect. On September 24th, 2012, Jill's handbag was found on a street very close to her home. The police suspected someone had placed the bag there because they had previously searched the area thoroughly. The very next day, the owner of a clothing store on Sydney Road provided a crucial tip. Surveillance footage from the store showed Jill talking to a man in a blue hoodie right outside the shop. During the exchange, Jill even gestured with her phone towards the man, seemingly rejecting some request. After that, the two of them walked off in the same direction. Tracking her phone's location data, investigators noticed that Jill's phone had travelled quickly along the Tullamarine Freeway towards the town of Gisborne. After analysing data from dozens of other nearby surveillance cameras, the investigators identified the man in the blue hoodie as Adrian Bailey, 40, a recently released convicted rapist. The frightening fact is that Adrian had previously committed multiple rapes, and he had just been paroled after serving time for raping 5 sex workers over a 6-month period. When investigators checked Adrian's phone location data, they found that it had travelled along the Tullamarine Freeway to Gisborne at the same time as Jill's phone. But while Adrian's phone returned, Jill's phone did not. Data from the toll stations on the freeway confirmed that Adrian paid the toll while driving to Gisborne and back. A toll booth camera captured Adrian's car stopping to pay the road fee. Location data showed that Jill's phone also stopped at the same toll booth at the same time. Adrian lived with his family in the town of Coburg, a suburb of Melbourne. On September 27th, 2012, after being arrested, Adrian confessed to abducting, raping and strangling Jill. The 40-year-old man led police to where he had buried Jill in a shallow grave along the road near Gisborne. Adrian was described as a violent sexual predator. He committed his first rape at the age of 18. He raped 2 women within a year and was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but was paroled after just 2 years. Shortly after his release, he went on to rape 5 sex workers. He should have served 11 years, but thanks to parole laws, he was released after 7 years behind bars. During Adrian's trial in 2013, the jury revealed that Adrian had no personal grudge against Jill. He had simply spotted her walking alone and decided to follow her. In this case, the jury found him guilty of kidnapping, rape, and murder, sentencing him to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The murder of Jill Meagher captured the attention of the Australian public and media. Thousands of people marched through the streets with the message, "Protect women at night." What do you think about today's case? Please leave your comments below so we can discuss it together. Don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe to the channel to motivate our team to bring more dramatic cases. And that concludes today's case. Thank you, dear viewers, for watching. Goodbye, and see you next time.